lunch break messages. So I just want to, this is kind of a repeat of something I just put on Instagram, but I always give YouTube the more in depth version of that. Because Instagram is, Facebook, Instagram, I feel like those are the apps that people follow you just to watch what you're doing for the most part. I feel like if you're on my YouTube page, or like if I had a Patreon page, which I might do that eventually. You're on those things to actually really support, so you deserve to get a little bit of a deeper version of whatever it is that the following and looking people get. So a thought that crossed my head this morning is that some of the best things in my life that have happened to me have been things that I didn't expect, I didn't plan for, and I was just open to the experience. And some of the worst things that have happened to me, or some of my worst disappointments, are things that I tried to plan to the T. I used to be like that with everything in life until I had my first couple of major shakeups. What I mean by that is I used to be somebody who was like, I want to plan every detail A to Z. This has to go like this. This has to go like that. This has to go like this. There was no flexibility in my life. But then I encountered circumstances where I planned things in an exact way. And then the butterfly effect. Little tiny thing threw it off. Then a lot of things were thrown off. And then it went nothing like what I expected. Another example. Some of these interviews that I've been doing, right? Everyone knows I sit down and I plan my interviews out meticulously. I show you guys. I have lots of notes. I watch everything. I think about what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it, inflection. I plan things out. Sometimes I bring props, which I still can't wait for you to see this in an interview that's on deck, but I'm still waiting for it. But anyways, I think that was the best interview I've ever done. So I'll be excited once I see it and once I can share it. But that's a side note. I remember the interview that I did, the first interview that I did with Wes Bergman as an example. I had it all planned out and mapped out. I wrote out all the questions. So as I started talking to him, I'm like thinking he's going to give this Wes answer and it's going to go like this. I started reading the questions to him. And his first couple of answers threw me off. They were not, I don't know, they were longer than expected, and he only had an hour, and it was just, he wasn't going in any kind of an order like I needed, because I wanted things to go in kind of a chronological order, but he would start here, then jump over here, then jump here, jump there. This answer is different than I expected, and then this one is different, and that one's different. And I got to the end of the interview, and I'm like, oh, cool. I finally got this interview in with Wes. This is dope. But then when I watched it back, I was like, looking at my question list and looking at what I actually asked him and what he answered. And I'm like, man, I only got to 25% of what I wrote. So I didn't even get to the main points that I wanted to get to. So even though, yes, I have him on camera for an hour, this is an hour, this is like 45 minutes of that hour of unplanned stuff, right? So I was actually a little bit disappointed, not in him, but in myself, because I said maybe I didn't do a good enough job of steering the conversation, right? But a conversation, in retrospect, is a back and forth, right? So it's not just you talking and then you what's the point of having a conversation with somebody if you already know everything that they're going to say as an answer, you know? And sometimes you get into those interviews and you start asking certain questions and then you get surprise answers that you did not expect. And then the viewers are like, hey, I have watched 100 Wes interviews or whoever interviews, and yours is the only one that I heard them ask this, and this, or I heard this and that. That's one area that I learned adaptability. Number one, asking people follow-up questions to nuggets that they might drop in your interview that you've never heard before. And number two, you write out the list, but the list is just a matter of being prepared. The list is not necessarily you're going to go through 1, 2, 3. I've had interviews like that where I have a list and I ask them the questions. I'm not going to say, I mean, you guys can look at my interviews. I'm not going to specifically say who, because I have the couple of people in my mind that did that. But some people are very talkative. You ask them one thing and they give you 10 answers. And some people are like, hey, how did you feel when you were at such and such? How did you feel when you were outside and it was raining? And they're like, well, I felt wet. And you're like, oh, okay. Question 2. You know, and other people are more, they're not focused on just one thing. They're not focused on just, you ask them one thing and it makes them think of a whole bunch of things, and then the conversation will go round and round and loops and round and round and round, right? I do that too. If somebody was interviewing me, like, I would be all over the place, right? I know that I would be all over the place in my interviews. I'm all over the place with my lives. Y'all know that. Whatever comes to my mind, that's what I talk about. But yeah, I started to realize from that, like, Mark, you need to be a little bit less rigid and a little bit more flexible and a little bit more open to life experiences that happen that you didn't expect. Another example of that, I like using the examples of things that are relevant to my content. My page. I didn't plan to have my page morph into what it is now, right? I had an exact plan. I made videos that were exactly the way I wanted the videos to go, and I had an expectation of how they were going to be received and perceived. I had an exact expectation. It didn't go down like that. Nobody was watching the videos. So I wanted to give up because I wanted people to enjoy my page as I intended for them to enjoy it. But guess what? People have free will. People have different things that interest them. People have different things that they like to see visually. They have different ideas and opinions. If you don't believe that, try doing some creative work, right? You'll do a creative work that you think is a masterpiece. This is the best thing that I could have ever done. I'm so happy with how this went. You ask people for feedback, you might generally get, this is dope, I like this, you know, this is great. If you talk to another creative, or even just somebody with a strong opinion, they might be like, I liked this, however, I would have put this here, or I would have done this, or subtracted this, or added that. And sometimes you look at that and you're like, thank you, that was helpful, you know, I didn't even think of that. And other times you're like, I would not subtract that, I would not add that in, I would not do it this way, I did it this way because I like it this way, I don't care what you like. But yeah, everybody has an opinion about something, but you have to be willing to adapt, adjust. That was my point of saying that. My page right now, I never had a goal to be sitting here on camera all the time, talking, doing lives, and all that. But the thing that got me the best engagement, the best numbers, and the best support was hopping on the camera, talking to people, and that was that. So made adjustments accordingly. There was a time in my life when I was too stubborn, too prideful for that. I'm like, this is not what I want to do. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing over and over and over until it succeeds. And you can act like that's persistence, but it's not. It's stupidity. It's stupidity. Because they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting the same result. At some point, you actually have to look at what's happening. Not what you want to happen, not what you think is happening, and not what your perception is of what's happening. What is actually happening? Give me the stats. Check the stats and see the things that you're doing that are succeeding, the things that you are doing that are not succeeding, and if they're not succeeding, figure out why, adjust accordingly. Final thing, go into each one of your experiences knowing that you will have to pivot. Sometimes once, sometimes twice, sometimes several times. Know that no path to anything is linear. You're always going to have some twists and turns around the way. Be prepared to be adaptable. Be prepared to make necessary adjustments. And that's how you are going to win at life. Thanks for listening to this TED Talk. Reminder, for those who follow this page for my reality TV coverage, it has now moved over to my new page, Mindful Reality. I will be keeping this page for motivational speaking and mental health topics. I will be keeping that page for reality TV content. I will be at the Big Brother premiere party tonight, and I hope to see all y'all there. I'm gonna y'all are gonna see. I'm gonna do some things. Gonna have some fun. Gonna record some content. And I'm trying to build that page up from the ground up. There's 85 subscribers. I hope to have 100 by the end of the day because I'm doing a lot tonight. I'm going to be at the event. I'm probably going to go live at the event. I'm going to be getting footage at the event. And when I get home, I'm hopefully going to be doing a live feed party. So that's the end of that for the day. And I'll see y'all on the other page.